let's just briefly, and I mean briefly, let's touch on the team who clinched the top seed at Seattle Seahawks, who beats the 49ers in sort of like winner takes top seed kind of game in the end. And it's Seattle who did this. And I know before we recorded, you were sounding off about the disrespect that Sam Darnold gets. So I'll let you have your little rant about that now.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that Sam Darnold has probably, if there was a award for the most underrated player in NFL history, I think that's got to be him. You go into a franchise like the Minnesota Vikings and you take them, to the number one seed, in the NFC, winning, 14 games. Everyone is like, well, was it more of the coach? It's a good coach there in the Vikings. Justin Jefferson's there. Sam Darnold, did what he choked, in the playoffs. And that's fair accusation because he didn't play very well in the playoffs and that last game. But then he goes over to Seattle. And what does he do? He does exactly the same thing. Takes them on a magical winning run, gets the number one seed, in the NFC. And at some point, you've got to say, well, he can't be a bad quarterback. And I think he's more than, an average quarterback. I think you've got to say that. You've got to look at, all the quarterbacks there and you say, well, would people say, is he better than Jordan Love? I know people will say, the instant reaction will be like, no, Jordan Love is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold. But is he really? Because you could argue that, the Green Bay Packers have got probably someone who's renowned as a much better coach, probably a much better team in terms of, what they do season in and season out. So, why would Jordan Love be better than Sam Darnold, right? Okay, Baker Mayfield, that's another quarterback that was in an MVP conversation. And throughout this year, nobody has put Sam Darnold in the MVP conversation. I don't hear anyone talk about him in the MVP conversation. They talk about everybody else. At some point, Baker Mayfield was in the MVP conversation.
He was.
And is he better than, Baker Mayfield? I would say so. You then start to look at, other quarterbacks. Don't ask me, whether he's better than, Jalen Hurts, because you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. I'll say most quarterbacks are better than Jalen Hurts, even though he wins.
Is he better than Dak Prescott?
Is he better than Dak Prescott? Of course not.
There we go.
Of course he's not better than Dak Prescott. But listen, right, you could argue that, Sam Darnold has done a lot more than Dak Prescott has done. Now, the only thing I would say is that Dak Prescott has actually won 13 games, right, in his career. And
is that it? Is that all he's won? He's only won 13. I know it's felt like a while since you've done anything, but I'm sure he's won more than 13 games in his career.
He has, but I mean, in a single season, he's won 13 games. And he's actually won, 12 games in 3 consecutive seasons. So you've got to be like, okay, there is amount of respect. And listen, if Dak Prescott was in a team other than the Dallas Cowboys, I think he would have won a Super Bowl by now. Because I think the sabotage that happens in the Dallas Cowboys is on a different stratosphere.
Yeah, go on, Eddie. Let's keep Cowboys corner to a minimum this week.
But yeah, I think Sam Darnold deserves his flowers. I think people need to start giving me a little bit of respect. And I know that everyone is waiting to see him fall to his face in the playoffs. And I think that's what everyone is waiting for. Everyone is on pumpkin watch, see him turn into a pumpkin in the playoffs.
Well, look, mate, let's see. He's got the first seed. Fair play to the Seahawks.